They sent 5 assassins to kill Daniel Mercer. Big mistake, because when the first blade flashed toward his throat, he didn't flinch, he smiled. By sunrise, 3 of those assassins would switch sides. The other 2 would be dead, and the shadowy organization that created them all would realize something terrifying. Their perfect weapon had just turned against them, and he remembered everything. This opener drops the reader straight into the action with high stakes, unanswered questions, and a promise of explosive consequences, forcing them to keep reading to uncover why Daniel is different, who he really is, and what happens when a human weapon gains free will. The tone is urgent, mysterious, and loaded with impending chaos, ensuring instant engagement. Please wait. Before we start, tap that iCard button in the top right corner and smash that subscribe button right now. Hit the notification bell so you're first in line when new stories land. All right, let's dive into the story. Chapter 1. The alley was a narrow slit between 2 crumbling brick buildings, the kind of place streetlights forgot. Daniel Mercer tugged his coat tighter against the biting wind, his breath curling in the frosty air like smoke from a dying fire. He shouldn't have taken the shortcut, but the bar had closed early, and the last subway train wouldn't wait. His boots scuffed against wet pavement, the sound swallowed by the city's distant hum. Then footsteps. Too many. Too close. Daniel slowed. His fingers twitched. Not fear. Anticipation. Wallet. Phone. Now. The voice was cold, flat, professional. He turned. 5 figures, hoods shadowing their faces, spread across the alley's mouth. The leader held a knife, its edge catching a sliver of moonlight. Daniel sighed. You guys really picked the wrong night for this. The knife wielder tilted his head. Funny. Last words usually are. A chuckle escaped Daniel's lips. You think this is a mugging? The second thug, taller, broader, cracked his knuckles. We know what it is. Daniel's grin faded. Something was off. Their stances, their precision. This wasn't some back alley robbery. The leader lunged. Daniel sidestepped, grabbed the knife hand, and twisted. Bone snapped. The man gasped, staggering back. The others froze. The tall one hissed, "What the hell are you?" Daniel flexed his fingers. Just a guy who hates bad manners. The third attacker, a woman, spun into a kick aimed at his ribs. He caught her ankle midair and yanked. She hit the ground with a grunt. The fourth assassin, wiry and quick, hesitated. This isn't right. Daniel finished. Yeah, I noticed. The fifth, silent until now, stepped forward. Her hood fell back, revealing sharp green eyes and a scar cutting through her eyebrow. Stand down, she ordered, not to Daniel, but to her team. The leader spat blood. Traitor. She didn't flinch. You weren't told what he is. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Enlighten me, because I'm getting real curious. The wiry one lowered his weapon. I'm out. This ain't the job we signed for. The leader snarled and lunged again, straight at the woman. She moved faster than any human should. One strike. A wet thud. The leader crumpled. Silence. Daniel exhaled. So, you gonna explain why 5 assassins just tried to kill me? Or do I start guessing? The woman wiped her blade clean. Name's Kira. And you, Daniel Mercer, are much harder to kill than they thought. A distant siren wailed. Kira jerked her chin toward the alley's end. We need to move. Now. Daniel didn't argue. Whatever game this was, he'd just become a player. And he hated losing. Chapter 2. Daniel followed Kira through a maze of backstreets, his senses on high alert. The wiry assassin, who'd introduced himself as Jax, kept pace beside him, constantly glancing over his shoulder. The big one, Marcus, brought up the rear, his heavy footsteps a steady drumbeat of tension. So, Daniel said, stepping over a puddle of something he didn't want to identify, you 3 just happened to have a change of heart mid-assassination? Kira didn't slow down. We were lied to. About what? My sparkling personality. Jack snorted. They said you were some washed-up lab rat. Not whatever the hell you are. Daniel flexed his hand, remembering the way the leader's wrist had snapped like dry wood. Yeah, I've been getting that a lot lately. Marcus rumbled from behind them. You moved like one of them. One of who? Kira finally stopped in front of a rusted fire escape. The enhanced. The ones they're building to replace us. Daniel's stomach dropped. Wait, replace you? Who's they? Jack scrambled up the ladder first. The same people who made you, genius. The metal groaned under their weight as they climbed. Daniel's mind raced. Flashes of white rooms, needles, and pain flickered at the edges of his memory. Things he'd always chalked up to bad dreams. Kira kicked open a third-floor window and slipped inside. The apartment was dark, the air thick with the smell of old takeout and gun oil. She flipped a switch, revealing a wall covered in surveillance photos and red string. Daniel whistled. Cozy, you decorate yourself. Shut up and look. Kira tapped a grainy photo of a bald man in a white coat. Dr. Elias Voss. My father, head of Project Prometheus. Daniel's blood ran cold. The hell's Project Prometheus? Marcus leaned against the wall, making the whole apartment shake. Government black ops. They've been cooking up super soldiers for years. Jax tossed a file on the table. It slid open, revealing Daniel's face staring back from medical report. Your Gen 7. Latest model. Supposed to be perfect. Daniel picked up the file with numb fingers. And you three? Kira's jaw tightened. Gen 4. Obsolete. A heavy silence settled over the room. Outside, a car alarm wailed in the distance. Daniel finally broke the quiet. So let me get this straight. My creators sent you to kill me because you're defective, Kira said flatly. You developed free will. Jax barked a laugh. Congrats, kid. You failed at being a weapon, so hard you became human. Daniel stared at his reflection in the dark window. The face looking back suddenly felt unfamiliar. What now? Kira racked the slide on a pistol. Now we find out what else they lied about. The lights flickered. Somewhere below, a door creaked open. Marcus sniffed the air. We've got company. Kira tossed Daniel a gun. Welcome to the rebellion, Mercer. Try not to get us killed. Daniel caught it smoothly, the weight familiar in his hand. No promises. The first bullet tore through the door just as he said it. Chapter 3. The gunshot shattered the apartment's fragile piece like a hammer through glass. Daniel reacted before his brain caught up, tackling Kira to the ground as wood splinters exploded where her head had been. Thanks, she muttered, rolling to cover behind an overturned table. Now get off me. Marcus didn't bother with cover. He ripped the refrigerator door off its hinges and hurled it toward the doorway. The crash was deafening. Jax popped up from behind the couch, firing 3 quick shots. We got 6, no, 7 hostiles in the stairwell. Black-clad figures moved with military precision. These are more Gen 4s, are they? Kira's jaw clenched. Gen 5s. Faster. Stronger. Dumber. Wonderful. Daniel took a deep breath and stepped into the open. Time slowed. He saw every muzzle flash, every ejected shell casing hanging in the air. His body moved on its own, twisting between bullets, returning fire with impossible accuracy. 3 attackers dropped before they realized what was happening. Jax's eyes widened. Holy shit. Kira didn't hesitate. She vaulted over the table, landing beside Daniel. Cover me. They moved in perfect sync, Daniel's unnatural reflexes complementing Kira's trained precision. Within seconds, the remaining attackers were down. Silence fell, broken only by their ragged breathing. Marcus poked one of the bodies with his boot. These aren't field operatives. They're lab rats. Daniel knelt beside a fallen soldier. The man's pupils were dilated, his pulse racing despite the fatal wound. They're drugged. Kira wiped blood from her cheek. Adrenaline cocktails. Lets them push past human limits for a while. Jax rummaged through a dead man's pockets. Found something. He held up a small device. A digital recorder with a blinking red light. A voice crackled from the tiny speaker. Asset retrieval priority alpha. Terminate all witnesses. Repeat, terminate. Kira crushed it under her heel. They're not here for you, Mercer. They're here for us. Daniel stared at the bodies. What? Marcus cracked his knuckles. Because we know where the real facility is. A distant helicopter thrummed through the broken windows. Jax scrambled to grab weapons from the fallen. We need to move. Now. Kira grabbed Daniel's arm. Her grip was iron. You want answers? The real lab's 30 miles north. That's where they made you. That's where they're making more. Daniel looked at his hands. The hands that had just moved faster than any human should. What exactly am I? The helicopter's searchlight swept across the building. Kira yanked him toward the fire escape. You're the mistake they can't afford to keep alive. Glass shattered as the first sniper round tore through the window. Jax kicked open the escape. Story time's over, kids. Move your asses. They plunged into the night, the truth, and a hail of bullets, chasing them into the darkness. Chapter 4. Rain sheeted down as they sprinted across rooftops, the helicopter's spotlight slicing through the darkness behind them. Daniel's lungs burned, but his legs kept moving with unnatural stamina. Where are we going? He shouted over the rotor noise. Kira pointed to a rusted water tower 2 buildings over. Extraction point. Move. Jack slipped on wet metal, barely catching himself. Oh sure, let's just casually leap across 5-story drops. Why not? Marcus didn't hesitate. The giant man took a running start and cleared the 10-foot gap like it was nothing. He turned and held out a massive arm. Jump. I'll catch you. Daniel grabbed Jax's collar. On 3. 1. Wait. 2. Goddamn it. 3. They launched into open air. For one terrifying second, Daniel felt gravity take hold. Then Marcus's tree trunk arms snatched them out of midair. Jax wheezed. I hate this team. The helicopter banked sharply, its searchlight sweeping closer. Kira was already wrenching open the water tower's maintenance hatch. In here, they tumbled into the dank interior just as the spotlight hit the tower. The metal walls pinged with rain, masking their panting breaths. Daniel wiped water from his eyes. Okay, what's the actual plan? Because rooftop parkour can't be our endgame. Kira pulled a waterproof case from inside her jacket. Inside gleamed a set of electronic chips and a hand-drawn map. We hit the real facility tonight. While they're chasing ghosts in the city. Marcus grunted. Suicide. Calculated risk, Kira corrected. She tapped the map. Security will be at minimum with most units deployed to hunt us. Jax peered at the chips. And these? Override keys. Stolen them 6 months ago. Kira's smile was all teeth. Been waiting for the right disposable asset to help me use them. Daniel crossed his arms. Gee, I feel so special. The helicopter circled again, closer this time. Jax chewed his lip. Even if we get in, what's the play? Blow it up? Steal data? Kira's eyes locked onto Daniel. We find what they put in his head. A cold trickle ran down Daniel's spine. Come again. The flashlight beam swept past their hiding spot, casting jagged shadows across Kira's face. You think they just let a Gen 7 walk around with free will? Whatever's in your skull is either a flaw or a feature. Marcus cracked his neck. Only one way to know. Outside, the helicopter's engine pitch changed, descending. Jax pressed his ear to the metal wall. They're landing on the next roof. We got maybe 90 seconds. Kira handed out the chips. Stick to the plan. Mercer comes with me to Central Control. Jax handles security systems. Marcus creates diversions. Daniel stared at the chip in his palm. And if this doesn't work, then we die knowing we pissed them off first. The helicopter skid screeched on concrete nearby. Jax took a deep breath. Well, fuck it. He kicked open the hatch. Let's go wreck our maker's day. They burst into the storm just as the first commandos rappelled down. Bullets sparked off metal as they scattered. For enhanced humans against the monsters who created them, running straight into the heart of the nightmare. The facility awaited, and Daniel was finally going home. Chapter 5. The facility loomed out of the storm like a sleeping beast, a concrete monolith surrounded by razor wire and guard towers. Daniel crouched in the tree lean, rainwater dripping from his nose, watching heat signatures move behind frosted windows. Intel was wrong, Jax whispered, adjusting his night vision goggles. That's not minimum security. That's a goddamn fortress. Kira didn't blink. Intel was incomplete. They upgraded after he stole those chips. Marcus cracked his knuckles. Still just concrete and meat. Daniel studied the patterns of the patrols. Something nagged at the back of his skull, a familiarity he couldn't place. There's a blind spot. Northwest corner, every 6 minutes when the patrols overlap. Kira's head snapped toward him. How do you know that? I don't. The knowledge was just there, like remembering a childhood home's layout. Jax squinted through the rain. Well, I'll be damned. He's right. Kira's jaw tightened. They programmed you with facility schematics. Interesting. Marcus hefted a stolen assault rifle. More interesting if we live to talk about it. Clock's ticking. They moved like shadows between security lights. Daniel led without hesitation, his body remembering paths his mind never knew. At the service entrance, Kira jammed an override chip into the keypad. The door hissed open to reveal a sterile white hallway. The air smelled like antiseptic and something faintly metallic. Jax gagged. Ugh, smells like bad memories in here. Daniel's skin prickled. The walls felt familiar in a way that made his stomach twist. A security panel lit up ahead. Kira diestil chopli. Jax now. The wiry hacker darted forward, slapping another chip onto the console. Screens flickered as he typed furiously. Got it. Cameras looped for 12 minutes. Move fast. They sprinted down corridors lined with ominous steel doors. Behind one, someone screamed, a raw animal sound that didn't seem human. Daniel's steps faltered. Kira grabbed his arm. Don't think. Just move. At a T-junction, Marcus sniffed the air. Guards coming. 5. Heavy armor. Daniel's vision sharpened. Left side. 2 are enhanced. Hear their heartbeat? Too slow. Jax blinked. Since when can you? No time. Kira shoved them into a supply closet as boots echoed down the hall. Pressed together in the dark, Daniel could feel Kira's rapid breathing against his chest. Her whisper was barely audible. Third door on the right after they pass. That's our target. The guards marched past, their footsteps fading. Jax let out a shaky breath. Okay, new plan. We get the data, then burn this place to a shrill alarm cut him off. Red lights strobed to life. Kira's eyes widened. They found the bodies outside. Marcus grinned. Diversion time. He kicked open the door and charged down the hall like a berserker, roaring loud enough to shake the walls. Jax groaned. Subtlety. Ever heard of it? Kira was already moving. Come on. While they're distracted, they raced to the target door, thicker than the others, with a retinal scanner. Kira didn't hesitate. She yanked a dead guard's severed eye from her pocket and pressed it to the sensor. Daniel recoiled. Jesus Christ. The door slid open. What? It's sterile. Kira stormed inside. The room beyond was cold, filled with humming servers and a central terminal. But what made Daniel's blood freeze were the walls, covered in his photographs, medical charts, brain scans. Jax whistled. Someone's obsessed. Kira typed furiously. This is it. The Prometheus Core database. Daniel reached for a file labeled Termination Protocols. The screen flashed red. Subject Mercer. Activation code required. A new voice spoke from the doorway. Code Phoenix 9 Alpha. They spun. A gaunt man in a white coat stood there, flanked by armed guards. Dr. Elias Voss, Kira's father. His smile was clinical. Hello, Daniel. Did you really think we'd let our greatest weapon forget? The last thing Daniel saw was Kira's horrified face before the world went black. Chapter 6. Consciousness returned in jagged pieces. Daniel's head pounded like a drumline as he blinked against blinding white lights. Cold metal bit into his wrists, restraints on an examination table. Subject 7 awakens. Dr. Voss loomed into view, his glasses reflecting the surgical lamps. Don't struggle. The bonds are reinforced polymer. Even you can't break them. Daniel tested them anyway. The straps didn't budge. Where's Kira? Alive. For now. Voss adjusted and 4-line dripping neon blue fluid into Daniel's arm. She always was sentimental about failed prototypes. Across the lab, Jax hung limply in a containment cell, his face bloody. Marcus was nowhere to be seen. Daniel's muscles burned as the strange liquid entered his veins. What the hell are you pumping into me? Activation serum. Voss tapped a tablet. We had to suppress your memories, of course. Can't have our ultimate weapon developing. Inconvenient attachments. Screens flickered to life, showing security feeds of Kira fighting through squads of guards. She moved like a hurricane, but was being herded toward a dead end. Daniel strained against the restraints. "She's your daughter." Voss didn't look up. "And you're a multi-million-dollar asset. Business is business." A new alert blared on the tablet. Voss's smile faded. "Well, it seems Marcus survived the trank rounds." The building shuddered. Distant explosions rumbled through the walls. Jax lifted his head weakly. "Told you, big guy hates needles." Daniel's vision pulsed. The serum burned through him, unlocking doors in his mind. Suddenly, he remembered the way pressure points could shatter polymer bonds. Every security code in the facility, and the real reason Voss feared him. With a roar, Daniel twisted his wrists at precisely 37 degrees. The restraints snapped. Voss stumbled back. "Impossible. That serum takes 20 minutes to..." Daniel was already moving. His palm struck Voss's chest with surgical precision. The doctor collapsed, gasping like a fish as his diaphragm locked. Jax hooped. "Hell yeah. Now get me out of this." Daniel ripped the cell door off its hinges before Jax finished speaking. Alarms wailed. The lab's containment doors hissed shut, sealing them in. Jax rubbed his wrists. "Okay, new problem." Daniel's fingers flew over the control panel. "Not a problem." His newly unlocked memories guided every movement. The doors groaned, then exploded outward as Marcus came barreling through, carrying 2 unconscious guards like battering rams. Jax blinked. "Or we could do that." Marcus tossed the guard aside. "Kira's pinned in Sector 9. They're prepping neural scramblers." Daniel's blood ran cold. Scramblers turned enhanced brains to mush. Voss wheezed at their feet. "You'll never make it." Daniel grabbed the doctor's collar. "Watch me." The 3 of them moved like a well-oiled machine. Daniel navigating with his awakened knowledge. Marcus smashing through obstacles. Jax disabling security measures. As they neared Sector 9, Daniel's enhanced hearing caught Kira's ragged breathing and the whine of a scrambler powering up. Marcus hurled a fire extinguisher through the observation window. The explosion of white powder was their cover. Daniel burst in to see Kira on her knees, a technician adjusting the scrambler helmet over her head. "Hey, Doc." Daniel's voice made everyone freeze. "You forgot my activation code." The technician turned just in time to eat Daniel's fist. Kira gasped as Daniel ripped off the helmet. Her eyes were wild. "Daniel? What? No time." He hauled her up. "We need to move." Jax was already at the terminal. "Guys, we got bigger problems." The screen showed security feeds of armed teams converging on their position. Like all the problems. Marcus cracked his neck. "Back way." Daniel's newly unlocked memories provided the answer. Ventilation shaft to sublevel 3. Leads to the old tunnels. Kira stared at him. "How do you later?" Daniel grabbed her hand. "Right now, we run." As they disappeared into the ducts, the facility shaking around them, one thought burned in Daniel's mind. They'd started this war tonight. But he would finish it. Chapter 7. The ventilation shaft emptied into a pitch-black tunnel that reeked of mildew and old wiring. Daniel landed first, his enhanced vision adjusting instantly. Kira dropped beside him, then Jax, with Marcus barely fitting through the narrow opening. "Everyone alive?" Daniel whispered. Jax patted himself down. "Mostly, though I think I left my dignity back in that cell." A distant explosion shook dust from the ceiling. Kira wiped blood from her lip. "They'll collapse the tunnels to trap us. We need to move." Daniel's mind flashed with newly unlocked schematics. This leads to the old generator room. There's an emergency exit half a mile east. Marcus sniffed the air. Smoke. They're burning files. They ran through the dripping darkness, their footsteps echoing off rusted pipes. Daniel's head throbbed with each step, the activation serum still working through his system, unlocking more memories with every passing second. Kira grabbed his arm. "You're remembering things, aren't you?" Daniel nodded. "Enough to know why Voss was so desperate to wipe me." Jax tripped over a loose cable. "Care to share with the class?" Another explosion, closer this time. The tunnel groaned ominously. "Not here." Daniel picked up the pace. "We need to..." A steel security door slammed down behind them, cutting off their retreat. Then another ahead. They were trapped. Jax kicked the barrier. Oh, come on. Kira takes here dwindling ammunition. They're hurting us. Daniel pressed his palm against the cold metal. The access panel sparked when he touched it, his fingerprints still in the system. The door hissed open. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Convenient. Beyond lay the heart of Project Prometheus, a cavernous lab lit by rows of glowing stasis pods. Each contained a motionless figure. Jax gulped. Are those Gen 8s? Daniel approached the nearest pod. The face behind the glass was his own. My replacements. Kira's gun clattered to the floor. They've been mass-producing you. Daniel's hands shook as he accessed the control terminal. Screens lit up with termination protocols, activation sequences, and one encrypted file labeled Contingency. Phoenix. Marcus peered over his shoulder. That's your handwriting. Daniel's breath caught. Because I designed it. The truth crashed over him. I wasn't just a test subject. I was the lead engineer. They couldn't perfect the enhancement serum until I injected myself with it. Kira's eyes widened. You volunteered? Another explosion rocked the facility. The ceiling cracked, raining debris. Jax tugged Daniel's sleeve. Fascinating backstory, but maybe save it for when we're not about to be crushed. Daniel's fingers flew across the keyboard. This facility has a self-destruct sequence. I just activated it. Kira grabbed his arm. Are you insane? We're still inside. Exactly. Daniel entered final commands. The blast will be contained underground. No evidence. No more prototypes. He turned to face them. But we have 90 seconds to reach the surface. They ran like hell. Alarms wailed as they burst through the emergency exit into cold night air. Behind them, the earth trembled. Then, a muffled whump as 500 feet of reinforced concrete collapsed inward. Jax collapsed on the grass, wheezing. Remind me, never to piss you off. Kira stared at the settling dust. It's really over? Daniel touched the data chip in his pocket. The one he'd grabbed showing every black site location. For them, yes. He looked at his unlikely team of rebels. We're just getting started. Marcus cracked his knuckles. Good. I was getting bored. As dawn broke over the smoking ruin, Daniel Mercer finally understood his purpose. They tried to make him a weapon. He'd become something worse, a man with nothing left to lose. And the world would never see him coming. And that was the end of the story. Comment below if you want the next chapter, and hit that like button. Please subscribe, turn on the bell, and as always, keep the last light burning.